Hi, it's Neil here from neilcurtis.me. This is another tutorial to create a logo, and this time we're going to create the Snow Pursuits logo using GIMP, which is a free raster software similar to Photoshop. We're just going to open up GIMP and start by opening up a new image, and I'm going to make it quite a large square, 1000 by 1000 pixels, and I'm going to give it a high resolution of 600, so it's a sharp image at the end. First thing I'm going to do is write the word snow, and I'm going to use the font Agency Bold, and it's not exactly the same as the actual font in Snow Pursuits. I think the Snow Pursuits one is a Google font, a special Google font, but this is close enough, so we'll just use this agency font here. So I've tapped the word snow, quite big letters, and I'm going to do alphabet selection on this text layer, and then I'm going to grow the selection by 5 to make it fatter, and that's a bit fat. So I'm going to do Control Z to undo that, and I'm going to go back and grow the selection by 3, and that's quite good. So we'll now fill this with a grey colour. So I'll create a new layer, transparent layer, and fill this selected area with grey. So now we've got the text in grey. And I'm going to create a new transparent layer, and I'm going to go from a light grey to white gradient, because the top part of this word is a light grey to white, while the bottom half of the word is a dark grey. Alright, so that's quite nice there. So I want to, with this snow still selected, I want to subtract using the ellipse selection tool, and subtract options selected. I want to remove the top part of this word, so I'll just put this into a position I'm happy with, and that's good enough. I'm going to invert that selection, and I'm going to push delete, and I didn't want to invert it, so I'm going to invert the selection again and push delete with the top layer selected, and that just deletes the bottom of that gradient grey layer, and so we've got the darker snow shown through. So on the darker snow letters, I've got an alphabet selection on that layer, and it's selected the whole outline of the word snow again. And I want to draw a black stroke line all around the perimeter of it. And I didn't want to do that on that layer, I wanted to do that in a new layer. So I'm going to create a new transparent layer, and I'm going to move it to the top of the stack of layers on the right. And I'm going to go edit, stroke selection, and with a size of 2, I'm going to stroke a black line around the outside of snow. I'm going to reduce the opacity of this black line. That's why I did it on a new layer, so I can control the line separately. Just so the black line is now a dark grey around the edge, it looks better. I'm going to delete the original text I wrote, so I don't need that. And I'm going to join all of these layers together, and I want to actually squash it vertically using the scale tool from the tool selection, because when I look at the real Snow Pursuits logo on the website, this one we've created now is too tall because we're using the wrong font. But if I squash it a bit, it looks a bit closer. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for this guide, and it's going to create a nice comparable logo at the end. I'm going to create some new letters, the word Pursuits. I'm going to shrink it down a bit. I'm going to go alphabet selection just like before, so I'm going to repeat the exact same procedure and create a new transparent layer at the very top of the stack, and I'm going to grow this selected area again, but this time by 2 to make it a bit fatter. That looks okay. And this time I'm going to fill up with a gradient of blue. So just by eye, I'm going to try and select the blue that's similar to the original logo. If you check out snowpursuits.co.uk, you can see the original logo. So I'm going to go from this blue to white. I'm going to drag this gradient line a bit above, so it goes to blue to very light blue. Okay, and I'm happy with that. I'm going to create a new transparent layer at the top, change the color to black. I'm going to do an outline same as before, so stroke selection, size of 2, and a stroke black outline. I'm going to again reduce the opacity a bit, so it's a dark grey. just joined the outline layer and the blue gradient layer together, and I've dragged it up into the right position. I just need to stretch it out and squash it a bit. So using the scale tool, I'm just doing this. And again, it's just by eye, just to get it about right. I'll just drag it down. Okay, I want to reduce the outline a little bit because it's a bit dark. Now I've got it next to the snow, I can see it's a bit dark. Shrink it a little bit more. Move it across. I'm just using the arrow keys on the keyboard and I selected this to move it more finely. Came up with that, so I'm just going to ungroup them and I'm going to merge the outline layer down onto the letters layer because we don't need to be separate anymore. I'm doing the same with the snow. I'm merging all the snow word layers together. So now we've got two layers, one for the word pursuits, one for the word snow. With snow selected, I'm going to add a drop shadow underneath it. And to do this, just go to filters and light and shadows and then drop shadow. Just click OK, and that puts a nice drop shadow behind the word snow. I'll do exactly the same in pursuits, so filters, light and shadow, drop shadow, OK. That looks nice. So I'm going to merge the letters down onto the drop shadow. So again, we've only got one layer for each word. And now we're ready to draw the mountain shape behind these. So if I go to view and show grid, it puts a grid on, and then if I go image and then configure the grid size, I can change the size of the grid. So I've just increased that to 50. These squares are 50 pixels each. I join the two words together and I'm just moving them so they're aligned nicely to this grid, just so when I draw the mountain shape, it's central. These letters are central. And I think that grid's a bit too big, so I'm going to go configure under image and I'm going to reduce this to 40, so we've got a bit of a finer grid, and that's nice. And you can see the word snow and pursuits line up nicely with it, one of these vertical lines. I'm going to create a new transparent layer, and using the paths tool, I'm going to click on, and actually that's not snapping to the grid because I forgot to select the option to snap. So if I go view and then snap to grid, now when I click it'll snap to the corner of these grids. So I've got a nice straight line and I know space in between each of these grids, so I can work out where the peak of this mountain shape goes. So just count there and oops, I'll click in the middle of these two squares. I'll see if it snaps. It is a little bit, so that's where the peak goes because it's equally spaced. Let's click and drag that down. I'll just recheck. Yep, and that's right. So that's a nice symmetrical triangle. So I'll go stroke the path from the option there, 2, that's too thin. Click it again, increase it to 10. That's still too thin. I want to make it a bit thicker. So I'll try that again, that didn't make a difference. So I'll increase this to 15, and that'll do this quite a thick triangle or mountain shape. So I'll get rid of the grid because we don't need that anymore. Create a new transparent layer. I want to do this new layer beneath this path that we just stroked. And if I have a look at the path tool, I'm going to turn that triangle on just so we can see the outline of the original path. And if I go to the path tool and then select it, it creates the outline of that path again. So I can use that as my mask and I can fill it with black. So now I've got a layer filled with black. I'm going to create a new transparent layer. And first I'm going to use the path tool and I'm going to draw a cutout shape that's going to, and I'm going to use to cut out the black so we show the white sort of snow peak showing through. So just click two nodes on the path tool and I clicked on the line and dragged it to make it curve. Now I'm just tweaking this curve until I'm happy with the curved edge shape that I want. And I'll just complete this path. hit enter, so we've got this selected area now, and go on the black layer and push delete. So now you see we've got just a nice curved black shape. So in a new layer that I created before, I'm going to select the triangle path like before, and this time I'm going to fill it with white, and that white layer needs to be below the black layer, so I'm going to select the white layer and go layers, stack, move down. So there we have it, we've got a mountain shape. So I'm going to merge the black onto the white layer, and I'm going to move those to the bottom of the pile because we want them below the letters. And I'm going to move them ahead of the background layer that we've got there. So there we go, the mountain's behind but not the black outline, so just deselecting the path because we don't need to see that anymore. Go back to my layers, I need to move the black outline down, but I'll do this by moving the letters up. Just move the word snow up to above the black outline of the mountain, and there we go. We have our mountain behind the word snow pursuits. Turn the background off so we've got a transparent back layer. Actually, I'm going to turn it back on again because there's one last thing I want to do. I just want to darken up the letters a little bit. So I'm using a Dodge burn tool with a big pen size, and I'm just using the burn selector. I'm just clicking around the outside of the word snow just to darken up the left and right hand sides of the word snow a little bit. It's very subtle, you may not be able to see clearly, but it's just adding a little bit of shading and a little bit of depth to these letters that just makes them stand out and look a little bit nicer. And I've just done the same with the word pursuits as well there. So I'll turn the background layer off, then I'll go to image, merge visible layers, and it's just merge everything down to one layer. Actually, I'm going to delete the background because we don't need it. Go to image, auto crop, just to crop the layer nicely around the image. And that's it, we're finished. So I'm just going to export this as a PNG. And call it SP for Snow Pursuits logo. Export. And just, I'll unselect the background there, but it doesn't really make a difference. There we have it, there's the logo, and I'll double click it and open up. You can see it's a really sharp image, that's why we set the resolution to 600 at the start, so we've got a sharp image. Then I'll compare this to the live website, so I'll open up Chrome, this is what I'm using for my internet. Type in Snow Pursuits, open up Snow Pursuits, and then open up our logo, compare it against the original, and you'll see the font is different like I said, but the styling is all exactly the same. So there you have it, there's our finished Snow Pursuits logo. You should go ahead yourself and have a go, see what you can create using the free GIMP software. As always, head over to neilcurtis.me to get more information about creating logos and also making websites from the very start to the very finish.